Well, Goldblum, it's finally spooky season. Football is in full swing, pumpkin beers are on store shelves, candy corn companies are about to make their entire nut for the whole year, and everything is fine and good. Except...
Yes?
Well, I feel like I've seen every scary movie 100 times over already. I need something fresh and new, or something old and obscure and awesome to watch this year. I was checking our current location, and we are not far from the Craven Moon.
Oh no. The Craven Moon? The 666th moon of the planet Gargaroth? The seat of the metal horror empire? No.
It's really a democratic monarchy. They just call it empire because it sounds more metal.
I asked, do you remember what happened the last time we visited the Craven Moon? The Empress told me she f***ed my mother in the pit at a Guar show.
That's just how they say hello there.
And do you remember what happened later that night?
Yeah, we saw Carcass in concert. It was awesome.
I asked, and do you remember what happened after that?
What's up? What's up? What the f*** is up, Space Danny?
What? You gotta go to Space Danny's after a metal show? It's like a tradition. Alright, I'm gonna plot a course and we're gonna find some awesome new scary movies to watch this Halloween. Welcome back to Space Castle, where it's our mission to explore all things nerdy and spooky. I'm your Captain DT, and we are about to come up on the Craven Moon. Goldblum, would you please open up a direct channel to the Cathedral of Death?
You mean their parliament building? Fine.
Hey, what the f*** is up, DT? And hey, Goldblum. You remember that time I f***ed your mom in the choir mosh pit?
God, I love the Craven Moon. Craven Empress, we humbly ask your opinion on a very important matter.
You can f***ing proceed.
It's spooky season, and we need something different to watch this year. We've watched all the classics and all the modern horror movies, and we figured that you would know something weird or obscure that we could watch. Can you give us a list of 5 horror movies that more people should know about?
What are you talking about? Every season is spooky season. But don't worry, I f***ing got you. So get ready to throw up the horns and then cover your eyes with them. Because the first movie is Brotherhood of the Wolf, not only a horror movie, but a goddamn motherfucking action horror movie starring Mark Dacascos.
Mark Dacascos from 90s classic Double Dragon?
No, we're talking about Mark Dacascos from John Wick 3 and The Crow, Stairway to Heaven. Although we might not want to admit that one.
Universal Pictures and Studio Canal proudly present to American audiences the French motion picture sensation, Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Holy crap, that was awesome! Set in the 18th century, it's a story of a French knight and his Native American companion who are sent to the countryside by the King of France to investigate a string of grisly deaths at the hands of what the villagers must think is some sort of demonic wolf. The knight, Francois, a biologist, isn't convinced, and he sets out with his companion Manny, played by the incomparable Mark Dacascos, to find out what's actually going on. What's actually going on is some f***ed up shit, and the result is a kick-ass combination of historical drama, very loosely based on actual events in the 18th century France, and an actual French cryptid, a horror movie, an action movie with some surprisingly rad martial arts, and it's all sprinkled with a bit of cheesy early 2000s editing and CGI. This movie was an absolute blast. And most everyone else who's seen it agrees. The movie has a 72% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and apparently still holds a cult following to this day. An excellent recommendation for your Halloween viewing. Stream it on Shudder right now.
Dope. Next movie up had people running from the theaters in 1932, with an ending so grotesque it was banned in Europe. It messed people up more than the Great Depression.
Okay, I'm actually a little bit ashamed for not having seen this prior. The director, Todd Browning, also directed the incredibly famous and iconic 1931 adaptation of Dracula starring Bela Lugosi. I'm a huge fan of the classic Universal monster movies, and I should have been watching Freaks every year for like decades. The movie was actually very controversial and banned in many countries when it came out in 1931 because of its stark and direct adaptation of people with varying degrees of disability. You see, the film takes place behind the scenes of a circus, and the cast are all sideshow freaks and performers. The majority of the film follows them really rather warmly and kindly as they go about their lives as a small community who care about each other and take care of one another. Now, I know this doesn't sound like horror at all, but greed and conspiracy infiltrate their unusual family, and the last 15 minutes of this film turn into a shockingly brutal bit of revenge for the time, with much of what transpires ultimately being cut from the film because it was deemed too terrible and shocking for audiences in 1931. I will leave it at that. I don't want to ruin anything. This was an incredible film. It's a shame that it was so misunderstood and banned so frequently in its time, because now, in 2024, the film is considered a timeless masterpiece, is protected by the United States National Film Registry, and is considered one of the most important films ever created. Go watch it. It's only like an hour long, and it's completely free to watch on Tubi.
Next up is Troma's 1988 film, Rabid Grannies. If you know anything about Troma, you know you're about to get f***ed up, but have a really good time in the process, especially when two elderly women all of a sudden turn into cannibalistic demons that want to eat their family.
Rabid Grannies. They don't exist. They exist.
Okay, this one threw me for a loop, I'm not gonna lie. The first 30 minutes of Rabid Grannies is rough, and it's a slow burn. A bunch of really obnoxious relatives gather at an estate where their two elderly aunts live. They're all attending the birthday dinner of said aunts, and each want to get into their good graces and try and score a big inheritance after the ladies have expired. One relative isn't invited at all, but sends a gift anyway, and dudes, when this movie kicks into gear, holy crap. The gift turns out to be a box of evil that turns the aunties into cannibalistic demons who tear through each family member one after another. Now, I expected this movie to be cheesy and silly, being a Troma release and with a name like Rabid Grannies, and it is, but just by default of what it is. But man, this movie has teeth. Pun intended. This is easily one of the most mean-spirited old horror movies I've seen in a long time, and I loved it. There are some awesome and inventive practical effects and makeup here, some genuinely good and fun moira, and a few scenes that even made me wince. Craven Empress, I thought you might have been off your game with this one, but damn. This one's also available to watch on Shudder.
Okay, rad. Up next, a newer film from 2015 that enough cowards have not seen. Hell House LLC. It is slowly gaining traction in the horror film world, and I love it. I'm obsessed with it, quite frankly. Anyways, basis of the story, there's a group of kids that go ahead and rent a already haunted house to make it into a haunted house attraction for a small town. What could possibly go wrong?
I think we're next.
Come back up! Come back up! Hurry! Hurry!
Okay, now this one's interesting. I am generally not a fan of found footage horror movies, having been put off of them almost entirely by the Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity, but Hell House LLC is a lot of fun. A mockumentary about a group of young people who are in the business of setting up haunted houses each year to make a living. They scope out and they take over a small inn outside of New York City, which has been abandoned and condemned after a series of terrible events took place there. And as they're setting up the haunted house and getting ready for opening night, the folks running the place start experiencing strange happenings themselves. And then the movie really kicks into gear and takes off. It's another slow burn horror movie with a really strong ending, and a little bit of patience with this one will pay off greatly in the end. Now, Hell House LLC isn't exactly scary. There's no jumps or really much gore to speak of, but what the film ends up being is sort of a haunted house experience just like the one they're building in the film. I would definitely recommend this one as a spooky date night movie, for example. It's also available on Shudder for streaming right now. Go watch it.
Yeah, and now get ready to call your mom crying because we're about to go to the coldest place out there.
Walmart?
Russia, obviously. Anyway, this movie is called The Devil's Pass, and it's about a couple of really dumb kids from Oregon that decide that they're going to go to Russia and try to figure out the mystery of what happened to the hikers in the 1959 Dyatlov Pass incident. Did I mention they were from Oregon?
Where'd he go?
Consider me messed. Devil's Pass comes to us from Rennie Harlan, who is no stranger to both horror movies and cheese. His legendary career spans everything from Die Hard 2 to A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 to Deep Blue Sea.
Gonna seal off this.
And with this one, he crafts a film full of naive college students getting dead, government conspiracies, and killer mutants. This is a fun movie. The found footage genre of movies has come a long way since the Blair Witch Project, and even though we're still subjected to the whole, why are you still filming this? Because someone has to document it all shtick, the build-up and suspense and the wild ending of this one is well worth the slow start. The college kids in this one actually aren't grating and they aren't annoying, even if they are a little bit dumb and overly casual about hiking the Ural Mountains in Russia with basically clothes they just bought off the rack at Target. Like, seriously, they're in the Ural Mountains and they're wearing like cardigans and hoodies. I mean, like the average temperature in the Urals in January where the film takes place is like -6 degrees on a good day. And they're relaxing by like a modest campfire wearing cardigans and no gloves and like no face protection and just like beanies and shit. It's a fun movie and definitely one you can show at parties without anyone getting offended or grossed out. There's not a whole lot of gore. There's very, very little nudity, which is fine. And everybody's gonna be fine unless they're Russian military officers, in which case you should get the f out of there. It is a brisk 100 minutes and can once again be found easily on Shudder.
Right, you saw all 5 movies. Tell me what you think.
I am scarred for life in all the best possible ways. That's actually 5 horror movies I've somehow never seen, and each one of them was great. And it got me closer to my 31 spooky horror movies in 31 days in October goal.
And now you finally become a man. It took a while, but you got there, right?
Let's not go that far.
Thank you, Craven Empress, and may your reign be dark, bloody, and epic.
Already f***ing is. Thank you.
And that's gonna do it for this episode of Space Castle, where it's our mission to explore all things nerdy and spooky. Have you seen any of the movies we talked about? And if so, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. And feel free to add to the list with your own suggestions for obscure horror movies that more people should see. And if you got something out of this video, consider liking and subscribing to the channel for all sorts of zany content like this. Or, take it a step further and consider becoming part of the Galactonaut crew at patreon.com/spacecastleshow. These awesome people have done so, and we just welcomed our newest member, AAO Tim. Tim is part of the Against All Oddities podcast, where he and his 2 brothers discuss the weird and bizarre of this mortal realm. Near-death experiences, ghosts, aliens, and more.
That sounds f***ing metal.
It is. Thanks to Tim for joining up, and thank you to our crew for their support, and thanks to everyone watching and hanging out with me and checking out this episode of Space Castle. This is your Captain DT, signing off and thanking the Craven Empress for her wisdom.
You're welcome, you f***. And Gobon, I'll see you at our weekly gin rummy game. Yes?
Oh no.
What?